Handmade ornaments have a way of telling a story, bringing back treasured memories every time you hang them on the tree. In today's tutorial, I'll show you how to create a truly special ornament using the Mica Shift technique. We'll add a touch of elegance with gold foil and explore a fun twist on the Pavelka peel technique. Whether you're making a heartfelt gift for someone special or a keepsake for your own tree, this project is sure to add a little handmade magic to your holidays. Let's dive in. Using a 1:1 ratio of mica-rich clay to translucent clay will boost the chatoyance, also known as the cat's eye effect. Lightly spray the texture sheet with Armor All. I'm using Pavelka's tooled leather texture sheet. Once your texture mat is prepped, carefully lay your clay on top. To prevent the clay from sticking to your fingers, lightly mist the back of the clay with water. Gently press the clay into the texture sheet using your fingers. After pressing the texture firmly into the clay, place a makeup sponge on top and roll over it with an acrylic rod. Move the sponge as needed and repeat until you've covered the entire clay sheet. Finally, carefully lift the clay from the texture sheet to reveal your beautifully imprinted texture. Use a paper towel to gently dry the surface of Armor All. Now let's grab a flexible, sharp tissue blade and holding the blade horizontally, let's carefully slice off the high points of the textured surface. This technique, originally called invisible caning by Pierre Volkes, manipulates the mica particles in metallic clays, allowing you to shape and layer them to create a stunning, light-catching design. To keep my blade steady, I use my knuckles as a guide, ensuring they stay in contact with the work surface as I slice. After shaving the surface completely, roll the sheet flat with an acrylic rod. Then run it through the pasta machine on setting number 3. To finish, I like to burnish the surface to ensure everything is beautifully smooth. Every time I use this technique, I'm blown away by how beautiful it turns out. I just love the ghost-like impressions from the texture mat with a perfectly smooth, flat surface. It's a magical effect. Now let's carefully place a beautiful sheet of silver leaf on top of our pomegranate clay. Use your fingers to smooth the silver leaf completely. As usual, trim the edges to keep things tidy. I'm using the same texture sheet from the Mica Shift technique, but this time the silver leaf will act as a release agent, so no need for Armor All. Mist the back of your clay with water, then gently press it into the texture sheet with your fingers. If the clay starts to lift while pressing, I like to steady it with one hand while pressing with the other to keep everything in place. Finally, carefully lift the clay from the texture sheet to reveal that beautiful silvery texture. It's always so satisfying to see it come to life. Now let's take a piece of tape and gently press it onto the surface of the textured silver leaf clay. Smooth the tape with your fingers, making sure it adheres to the high points. Once the tape is firmly in place, carefully lift it off. The silver leaf will stay in the textured impressions, while the tape will remove it from the high points, leaving behind a beautifully detailed design. The combination of red and silver really gives me that festive feeling. I can almost hear the sound of sleigh bells. Now for the twist. Roll the sheet of clay through the pasta machine on setting number 3. The texture will smooth out, but the silver leaf left in the impressions will create a stunning, controlled pattern that preserves the essence of the original texture. Now let's take our transfer foil and place the silver side onto the surface of our clay. Start by using your finger to gently smooth the foil across the surface. Then gently rub across the surface with your fingers to transfer the foil. While some people prefer to use a tissue blade to help with the transfer, I find the warmth of my hands works best for this step. Once the clay feels warm, grip an edge of the foil and swiftly pull it off in a single motion. The foil should adhere to the clay, but if there are any small spots where it didn't fully stick, simply reposition the foil, rub it gently with your fingers, and pull it off again. After this process, you'll have a beautiful gold-covered sheet of polymer clay, ready to add a stunning touch to your ornament. Take about 30 grams of the mixed turquoise clay you set aside earlier. Place your other clay components on tiles to keep everything organized and within easy reach as you work. I broke down the Mica Shift sheet into squares to fit the design and make the application process easier. Now I'm going to use my Rockrose Keepsake Faceplate cutter. This special 2024 design is crafted with precision to ensure clean lines and a perfect cut every time. Gently press the cutter into the clay without cutting all the way through. The goal is to create faint layout lines on the surface. These subtle guidelines will help you position and align your ornament stripes in the next steps, ensuring your design is perfectly balanced. Let's start at the tip of the ornament. We'll start with our turquoise Mica Shift sheet. And I'll press gently with my fingers once I'm happy with the position. Before adding a new layer to the design, I always make a cleanup cut along the edge to ensure that the piece of clay being added has a nice straight and even edge. I try to keep each slice of clay on the tissue blade whenever possible, using the blade's edge to snugly press the clay against the adjacent pieces for precise alignment. Now let's add that beautiful red clay. I just love the combination of red and turquoise. It's such a classic and vibrant pairing. As you can see, I'm using my hands to carefully align the clay onto the base. Just take your time and enjoy the process. I wanted to add a pop of white, so I conditioned and rolled out some white frost clay on setting number 3. I just love the sparkle in this clay. It really captures that festive shimmer, like the sparkle on a holiday ornament. Now that we have the technique down, I'm going to speed up the process for the rest of the layering. Let's keep building this beautiful design. You might be wondering why I filled in the center. I plan to turn that center oval into a festive magnet, so no clay goes to waste. Once you're happy with the pattern, gently roll over the entire design with an acrylic rod to ensure all the layers adhere well. Then burnish the surface to create a smooth, polished finish. Now apply some Armorall onto your Rockrose clay cutter and carefully align it with the layers. Once you're happy with the placement, press firmly to cut. Since we're cutting through a thick slab, be sure to press until you feel the cutter make contact with the work surface. When that happens, give the cutter a little wiggle, then lift it off the design. When you remove your scraps, be sure to separate the colors where possible, and mix any leftover turquoise into your reserved blend for the next steps. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Now I'm going to cure it directly on the tile for 60 minutes. Just look at how cleanly the cutter sliced through such a thick piece of clay, leaving us with a flawless design. Our faceplate is out of the oven and fully cured. I did sand the center oval a bit, but I've left the sides to be sanded later. I'm going to use this air conditioner sponge filter to texture both sides of my backplate. I think it will really give the piece a polished, professional look. Next, take about 5 grams of the turquoise clay and roll it through setting number 6 on the pasta machine. Gently press your Rockrose Keepsake backplate cutter into the clay just enough to create faint layout lines without cutting all the way through. Now grab your sheet of clay rolled to a number 6 thickness and cut through it completely. Gently lift the cutter from the clay, then reposition it on the piece you just cut, starting at the tip of the ornament. Make sure there's about a 3/16 inch gap between the original cut and the cutter's new position. Once you've got it lined up, press down to cut again. This will create a V-shaped piece of clay that matches the ornament's silhouette. Now carefully align the V-shaped clay with the layout lines on the backplate. Take your time with this step. It's moments like these that make this piece something you or a loved one will treasure for years to come. I always find myself reflecting on that sentiment while working on projects like this. I like to use a silicone-tipped sculpting tool to smooth the edges and make sure everything is perfectly aligned. Lightly burnish the surface to ensure the 2 layers adhere smoothly. Now take your Rockrose backplate cutter, align it with the layout lines you made earlier, and cut through the clay. This project is really starting to come together. The V shape we created on the backplate will act as a stopper, ensuring that your photo stays securely in place. Next, apply a thin layer of liquid clay on the back of the faceplate, where it will meet the V shape on the backplate. Now place your faceplate onto the uncured backplate and position some popsicle sticks underneath the ornament hanger section of the faceplate. This will create a small gap between the 2 layers, making it easy for a picture to slide through. When I cure my polymer clay pieces, I use a brownie pan with a couple of tiles inside to help distribute heat evenly. Before curing, I always cover my pieces with aluminum foil, making sure it doesn't touch the clay. Now that our frame is fully cured, let's sand the sides to give them a smooth, seamless appearance. I'll start with 220 grit sandpaper and gradually work my way up to 1000 grit for a polished finish. I want to add the year to this frame, so I use the foil transfer technique on some more gold clay. Now I'm going to use my Rockrose 2024 debossing ribbon cutter to add a personalized touch to the frame. Let's apply a thin layer of liquid clay to the area where I want to attach the ribbon, and then we'll cure it once more to make sure everything stays in place. With everything cured, let's apply some Renaissance wax to the edges of the ornament. Then we'll use a Dremel tool with a soft cotton mop attachment to gently polish the edges, giving them a shiny, professional finish. I'm really happy with how these edges turned out. So clean, shiny, and smooth. It really adds that professional touch. Next, I'd like to fill in the 2024 with some colored resin to really make it pop. To do this, I'm going to use some red pigment powder and mix it in with my resin. Just a reminder, always wear gloves, a respirator, and eye protection when working with resin, and be sure to work in a well-ventilated area. Before applying resin, I always clean the clay's surface with a paper towel sprayed with alcohol. Just be careful around the foil surface though, it can rub off easily before it's sealed. Now I'm going to apply a coating of resin to the faceplate and cure it. The resin really enhances all of the beautiful surface treatments we did. It brings the mica shift to life, and the silver glittering leaf effect looks absolutely magical. I'm going to use a popsicle stick that I split in half to add some extra support and prevent the clay from flexing too much while I drill. I'm using a number 33 drill bit for this step. Just be sure to wear eye protection whenever you're using any drilling tools. Tying a ribbon to hang your ornament is the perfect finishing touch. Here's how to do it. Wrap the ribbon around a container, crossing the ends to form an X. Create a loop with the lower ribbon, then take the upper ribbon and wrap it around the base of the loop. Push the upper ribbon through the small hole near the base, forming a second loop. Finally, pull both loops tight and adjust their size to your liking. Simple and elegant. Next, pinch the ribbon to make it easier to thread through the hole you just drilled in the ornament. Once the ribbon is pulled through the hole, the bow will act as a stopper, keeping the ribbon secure and preventing it from pulling out. I found these face shields for protecting the picture in the frame. Now for the fun part, filling our frame with a cherished photo. Here's a picture of my husband and I. Cut your photo so it's slightly larger than the frame opening. Then slide it along with the protective shield into the slot we built into the frame. It's simple and the result looks polished and professional. Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more creative projects. See you next time.